Welcome, everyone. I am Dan Lambert, and I serve this congregation as minister. Our progressive, welcoming, inclusive, and judgment-free congregation is a liberal religious community of diverse and free-thinking individuals. UUSCC is a spiritual community where reason and social justice matter. As people who learn, love, share, and serve together, we welcome all into our family. We begin our service each week by singing an invitation to gather together, even as we are scattered in many different places. So let's sing Enter, Rejoice, and Zoom in together. Please remember to clap and do jazz hands at the right times. I know that there are some people that some of you may know that you would like to sing that second verse to. Don't be afraid of some change at this weekend in particular. For some odd reason, I just kind of have a sense that that might be a reality for some of you. Today, we have a special treat, a surprise. Our worship associate for this service is our congregational and board president, Lori Douglas. And she is our worship associate, and she is here live and in person to share with us. So I'll invite Lori to come up, do the intro for the chalice lighting and opening words. Lori?
Good morning. It's quite a treat to be here today with you all. I'm going to do the chalice lighting and have a few words for that. And after I do that, I'll let you know when it's time for you to light your ones at home. Pause for worship associate difficulties. All right, here we go. We come together each week, not by a creed or a mutual desire to please one God or many gods. Yet we are drawn together by a belief that how we are in the world, who we are together matters. We light this chalice together in the knowledge that love, not fear, can change the world. Please join me in the affirmation. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our aspiration, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. Now we'll have the opening words. Hearing some weird noises in the background. Hopefully they'll go away soon. Sorry. This opening is by Jennifer Pratt Walter. Her music and work is known through the UU spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions, which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythm of nature. She's been playing and recording Celtic harp music since 1984, and her music is regularly shared on the UU Church of the Larger Fellowship and in UU pagan traditions. Hope. See how the winds have shaped your hands to hold hope? So tenuous, it trembles like a hummingbird's heart. She gently carries hope to a nest in the midst of the maelstrom and tilts it into the bowl of tiny feathers together. Hope is so hard to cup. She might need your help when it seeps through the cracks of her fingers. Place your hands like this around hers. Together it can be done. When it hatches, when the nest is no more, watch the wind pick up hope and lay it softly into the welcome of upraised palms. Open your hands at home with me. Raise up your palms with me. Feel the hope that we have today. It's been a long haul. Feel that energy, feel the glow through your body, and feel it in your upraised hands. Amen, thank you, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Lori, for the appropriate and enthusiastic opening words. Again, as we just welcome everyone, we're super glad if you're a visitor with us today, especially if this happens to be your first time joining us. Some of you might notice that the pink in my beard is fading because October is over, and I have some actual hair on my head. That's because it's No Shave November. It is that month whenever we recognize man cancers and raise awareness for getting tested for prostate and testicular cancer. And if you're a fan of NBC News at all, you heard the news this week that Al Roker shared his diagnosis with prostate cancer. He was non-symptomatic and simply found it in a regular exam through regular blood work. His PSA level was a little elevated. And so they ran some follow-up tests and the diagnosis was confirmed. He is a perfect example of why it's so important to raise awareness and to do regular tests, to get regular exams for prostate and testicular cancer. So I'll be reminding you of that throughout the month of October. If you are a visitor with us, we'd love to know who you are. So we invite you to use the chat feature in Zoom, which you'll find at the bottom of your screen if you're on a computer or a laptop of some type. And it says chat, I think it has a little green bubble by it. Just if you don't mind, put your name in there and say hi, where you're from, and maybe how you heard about us so that we could all say hi and make you feel welcome today. That's not a trick. We're not going to try to sell you anything, but we would just like to know who you are. Our opening song today is an original composition by a musician named Carrie Day. She is from the Westwood Unitarian Church in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. The name of this song is Someday. And as you watch the video and listen to the song and sing along if you wish, I hope that you'll be as touched by it as I was when I first heard it, and how appropriate the message of this song is for this season in our country and for this particular day. So I hope you enjoy this song, Someday, by Carrie Day.
I let it burn till morning again. The little lamp beside the bed, like a beacon or a firefly, to light the darkest part of the night. I mapped out plans in the ceiling cracks. Gonna leave this place and never look back. Miles beyond this Dust Bowl city, to the countryside, all green and pretty. Someday, maybe someday, someday, maybe someday, I don't need to pass the time this way, thinking someday, maybe someday. kaleidoscope of scattered dreams, stardust hopes or memories, turned over one too many times. They kinda lost their edge, lost their shine. They're all the things I can't forget, things I said I'd do and haven't yet, making me the whole day through, keeping me up most nights too. Someday, maybe someday, someday, maybe someday, I don't mean to pass the time this way, thinking someday, 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 maybe someday.
Pretty powerful, huh? I feel like I could do a whole service and preach a whole sermon on the idea of someday. Someday, we always say we're going to do that thing that we're putting off. Today is that someday. Today is a new beginning. Today brings fresh excitement. And I encourage you to, whatever it is you said you would do someday, to make today that day. At this time, we invite you to share items in the Book of Life, which we use the chat room for during this time when we're meeting on Zoom, to share your joys and concerns. And I know that we all have a lot that we could say about the results of the election, both the presidency and local and Florida state elections and some of the issues that were passed. If you have something that you'd like to share, a word or a phrase, please do that in the chat room, whether that's a joy or a concern. But we also have a lot of other things going on. We have health issues, we have employment issues, we have personal items that are exciting and wonderful, and some things that maybe cause us some sorrow and some grief. So at this time, we're going to play an instrumental. We'll give you a moment to write whatever is on your mind in the chat room for our Book of Life, so that you can share it with the community and ease that burden and share that joy as part of the UUFCC family. Go ahead and write your items in the chat room now. I'm certainly not surprised to see some notes about taking a deep breath, to hear some of you chat in other ways that we've been able to share the past few days about breathing a sigh of relief. That's a very, very real feeling and certainly valid at this point in time. We've all felt a lot of stress over what's happening in our community, in our society, in our country. And the election this week brought some joys, but also brought some concerns. I invite you now to join us in a moment of silence, a chance to recenter and to reframe, to bring your breathing and your heart back together to that space that is pure and good and holy. During this moment, we'll have no music. We'll share an image on the screen that you can meditate on if you'd like, but use this minute to try to clear your mind, to let go of the burdens and lift them up to the universe that you might have, and also to share those joys and celebrations, and just to say thanks and to express gratitude during this moment. After the minute, you'll hear a ding, and then we will sing together Spirit of Life as we remain muted. So I invite you to join us in a moment of silent meditation now. Nice. A reminder that we are continuing to receive your offerings. You can mail those in through the postal service. You can have your bank send us a check. You can use the Venmo app on your smartphone if you like, and always designate, if you would, whether your offering goes for your pledge or for some special offering that we are doing. For example, in October, we were challenged through the Second Helping with a matching grant from Ken Brennan that we were going to continue to take up a Second Helping offering for 3 food banks that we've been assisting throughout this pandemic. And I am more than thrilled to report that our final tally, all totaled, that we've taken in the month of October for that challenge comes up to, I hope you're all sitting down. Everybody sitting down? Sit down. Everybody down? Okay. Our total is $6,021. Woo! $6,021. So each of the 3 agencies that we've been helping will get $2,007 from this little congregation for just 1 month. I'm blown away. My gratitude to Ken, and I know that we've all said thanks to him, but please continue to do that. Lori said this morning, maybe we should do some type of matching challenge every month. I'd be okay with that. We clearly have the capacity to do an awful lot of good through this congregation in this community, and I'm excited about what the possibilities hold for us. So thank you to all of you who gave. Thank you to Ken again for that challenge. And because today, believe it or not, is the 2nd Sunday in November already, we have a new monthly second helping that we're going to continue to help those 3 food banks. And so you can continue to give your gifts because that need is not going away. It actually continues to get worse the longer this pandemic goes, the longer many people are unemployed or underemployed. Some people have found new jobs to replace the jobs they lost in March, but they're not making nearly as much money. It's certainly good news that the state of Florida barely passed the constitutional amendment to raise our minimum wage eventually to $15 an hour. So September of next year, 2021, it goes up to $10 an hour, and then it moves up $1 each year until it hits 15. And then according to this amendment, there's a cost of living adjustment that's added to that each year. I know that sounds wonderful, but in another 5 years, $15 an hour is not going to go very far. And then we have a legislature, as we know, that likes to find ways to ignore the will of the people and not fulfill the requirement of the constitutional amendments that we, the citizens of the state of Florida, pass. So we have to keep an eye on that as well. That being said, I keep talking about all these things that occurred on Tuesday. Tuesday of this past week was election day. We voted for president and vice president. By the way, I'm pretty sure we have our first female vice president, our first female of color vice president. That's pretty cool. And I might just be a fan of hashtag Kamala 2024. But that's way too early to get on that bandwagon. Maybe, is it? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We also voted for our U.S. congressional representatives, for state and local officials, for proposed state constitutional amendments, as I mentioned, and for a variety of other local initiatives. Elections matter to us as Unitarian Universalists. Our 5th principle, one of the 7 that we cling to so tightly, talks about the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. The democratic process matters to us. Every vote counts. Your vote is your voice in a democracy. Every vote that's legally cast should be legally counted. That's true in our congregation when we take votes and make decisions on budgets, on ministers, on the board of trustees, on our officers, on everything that we decide. It's true locally, and it needs to be true nationally as well. I talked about UU the Vote before, the initiative from our Unitarian Universalist Association to try to get out as many people to vote as possible, to register people to vote. They estimate that through their work over the past year, that they helped about 2.5 million people register to vote and to actually get to the polls and vote, which is a remarkable feat for a denomination that only has 100,000 members. So that's super exciting as well. And I know that some of us were having a difficult time on Tuesday night and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday as we were waiting for somebody to decide who won. Waiting to have someone tell us who won was hard. We want change, and we want it now. The fact is that all the major media outlets have now declared Joe Biden to be the president-elect of the United States of America. Now, there's some things that have to happen between now and January 20th when he's inaugurated. We're talking about the Electoral College, which convenes in December to cast their votes. There could be some wonkiness there. But one of the fun, ironic things about this election is that Biden's final electoral vote count will be exactly the same as 4 years ago when Trump beat Hillary Clinton and claimed that he won by the biggest margin in history. And we know, if you pay attention to the news, that Biden got more votes than any other presidential candidate in American history. I think that matters. I think it matters a lot. We still have some things outstanding that we don't know about. For example, the control of the Senate, which is an important thing. There are 2 runoff Senate elections in the state of Georgia that will happen in January. I know some of you will contribute financially to those campaigns. Some of you might make a lot of phone calls to voters in Georgia, reminding them to go to the polls on that day and contribute in whatever other ways we might be asked to do that. That's totally appropriate. But I do think there's some room for concern. Our state results in Florida, our local results were disheartening to me anyway. All of the very conservative candidates who were running for local office won by a wider margin of victory than they won in 2018 and 2016. And we have to ask ourselves why. Why is there a larger percentage of people who were speaking out and voting for those candidates that represented so many issues that we find offensive and reprehensible and against our principles? I think that we have some soul searching to do when it comes to our political and social justice work. Regardless, our commitment to the democratic process and to social justice remains strong and undeterred. Yes, we can celebrate this weekend that we have a new president-elect if you want to, but this doesn't mean that our work is over. Far from it. Systemic racism still exists. Immigrants still need protecting. Poor citizens still need assistance. Hungry children and adults still need food. Everyone deserves excellent health care. Women still need providence over their own body, protected by our legal system. And our environment is still at risk in so many, many, many ways. Yes, we have a lot of work to do. So go ahead and celebrate this weekend if you like, but don't think that lets us off the hook. We can't look to Washington to solve the problems that we care so much about. We have a very active social justice group here in this congregation. We have a very active and effective immigration justice group in this congregation that other people in the community are part of. We have other groups that are doing a lot of work, our Climate Action Committee and so many others that are working hard to bring justice in all corners of our society. That work doesn't go away. It'd be great if someday it does, but that's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen in the rest of 2020 because, well, 2020 for one thing, and it's not going to happen in 2021. We have a lot of work to do. I also acknowledge that our fear and anxiety about the election and the result, what's going to happen in the next 10 weeks as we wait for inauguration, what's Trump going to try to do, how are his supporters going to rally or maybe cause violence, what's happening in our own families and our own friends. That anxiety is real, and we have to acknowledge that. Reverend Angel Kyoto Williams, a Black female writer, activist, and ordained Zen priest, wrote this on her social media outlets a few days ago. Our anxiety comes from the desire to have things be different. There's going to be the day after the election, and the day after that, and the day after that. We need to be present to what is, regardless of the outcome you want. My ancestors, she continues, had to prepare themselves over and over and over again for moving toward a freedom that was nowhere in sight. We prepare for life as it unfolds, not our ideal image of it. That is literally the only path forward, unquote. With those words in mind, I'd like to pivot the message from focusing on the election of this past week and politics to focusing on what comes next. What comes next for me, what comes next for you, what comes next for us, for our society, for our culture. And to bring a good symbol of that, to help us encourage each other, to remind us ourselves to breathe, to meditate, I'd like to share a song that we used a few months ago that we got a lot of good feedback on. It's a brief song. It's called The Meditation on Breathing. So we'll go ahead and share that now. Please sing along with this at home, and then we'll go into the second part of the message.
Breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
Kim Hamill singing parts of that song, and Linda Himes for putting that together and making the video for us to enjoy. So now that the election is over and we know who the next president will be, there are a couple of questions facing us that maybe most of us have been asking ourselves that I'd like to take some time to address. Number one, how can I recenter, refocus, and reground myself? And number two, how can I rebuild my relationships with people I care about who are strong Trump supporters? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can't see you.
Self. And number two, how can I rebuild my relationships with people I care about who are strong Trump supporters? Allow me to tackle the second question first. How can I rebuild my relationships with people I care about who are strong Trump supporters? I don't know. I don't have a clue. I'm not sure how to do that. And that's a personal issue for me because I have to work on this as well. This past week, I've had some difficult interactions and conversations with my own parents, both of whom are very conservative Trump supporters. I had a conversation with my dad the other day, who was telling me that he didn't understand how anybody could support baby killers. You're telling me that he couldn't understand how anybody could support Democrats, how anybody who claims to be a Christian or religious or love people could vote for anyone other than Trump. My mom has fallen down a wormhole of reading websites that are extremely right-wing, that are not mainstream at all, that don't even pretend to report regular or real news. And that's affected her worldview and our relationship. And it sucks. I hate it. This is not merely a difference of opinion. This is what I keep hearing from a lot of Trump supporters. Well, we can just agree to disagree. But it's not just a matter of opinion. It's about basic human decency and fundamental human rights. Calling people names and insults, trying to take away aid, trying to block people at the border, calling certain countries different types of profanities, that's not a difference of opinion. That's a difference of the heart. And yeah, I can agree to disagree with people about the fact that chocolate chip cookies are the best cookies ever. I can agree to disagree with people about the best baseball team in the history of baseball being the Cincinnati Reds. I can agree to disagree with people about the favorite season of the year being Florida. But a difference of opinion is not a worldview that says someone else is less than I am. Someone else does not deserve a chance. Some relationships, in fact, will not be repaired. They won't be rebuilt or rekindled. And you and I may need to process that reality and mourn that reality. Some relationships, I would submit, are more important than others to at least try, however. I have friends that I went to high school with, college with, people that I've met along the way in different jobs, different places I've lived. And honestly, I don't really care a whole lot if I keep those friendships or not. But my family, that's blood. These are people that I see at weddings and funerals and family gatherings. Well, at least I used to before the pandemic, and hopefully I will again. I value those relationships. I want those relationships. I want to rebuild them in a way that honors the ideals that I hold closely. Sometimes, though, to protect yourself, to honor your own boundaries, you may need to keep some people out of your life, even close family members, at least for a season, because those relationships cause emotional harm to you. And sometimes they are simply too toxic to try to repair. And that's okay. It's hard, but that reality is okay. I know that advice is cheap, but here's what I am dedicated to recommending to you and to keeping in mind myself as I work on such relationships in my own life. 3 things. If you'd like to make notes, might be noteworthy, or it might not. 3 things. Love boldly, listen earnestly, and learn openly. Love boldly, listen earnestly, and learn openly. To love boldly, I mean embrace people with all of your heart. Love requires taking a risk. There's no guarantee in any relationship, friends or relatives, that it's going to work out. But if you're not all in that attempt, if you're not all in that relationship, you'll never know what might happen. Listen earnestly. Don't talk over somebody when they're trying to explain their point of view. Don't interrupt them to object to something that they're trying to say, to make an opposite point, to ask a question that you think may be salient. Listen to people when they talk, hear what they say, and learn openly. Be open-minded about what someone else is trying to say. There's a reason that my parents believe what they do. There's a reason that they've come to become Trump supporters, even more than Republican Party supporters, even more than traditional conservatives. I need to understand what that reason is. before I can ever have a decent conversation with them about it and try to figure out how to rebuild those relationships if that's even possible. One of the most sagely pieces of advice about love is found in the Christian scripture of 1 Corinthians 13. It's known as the love chapter, and it reads like this. Excuse me. Though I speak with the tongues of humans and of angels, if I have not love, I am become a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. Though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains, if I have not love, I am nothing. Though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, if I have not love, it gains me nothing. Love suffers long. It is kind. It doesn't envy. It doesn't boast. It is not puffed up. Love does not behave itself unseemly. It seeks not its own. It is not easily provoked, and it thinks no evil. Love rejoices not in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Love never fails. But where there be prophecies, they shall fail. Where there be tongues, they shall cease. Where there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. And now abides faith, hope, and love. These three. But the greatest of these is love. That truth helps me to focus on the fact that not only does love exist, but that it's up to me to love myself and to love others in a way that truly honors the idea of love itself. I plan to love liberally and see what happens. Yes, I said love liberally. Who knows where that might take me? Now to the other question many of us have. How can I recenter, refocus, and reground myself? Many years ago, I learned about practices that are called spiritual disciplines. These exist in most religions in one way, shape, or another, often called by different terms. Spiritual disciplines are simply personal practices intended to help us get outside of ourselves and to connect with whatever you call the source of life, be that God, spirit, universe, light, earth, dharma, energy, on and on and on. We have a lot of words for it, a lot of names for that. Spiritual disciplines help us focus and recenter. There are several different spiritual disciplines, from 7 to 14, depending upon what background you look at. So I will spend the next couple of months between now and the end of the year talking about spiritual disciplines and encouraging you to try some new spiritual disciplines or to retry ones maybe you've tried in the past. Spiritual disciplines are activities such as meditation and prayer, journaling, serving others, gratitude, silence, sacrifice, on and on. We're certainly at a point in time when grounding ourselves spiritually, even if you're a humanist or an atheist, seems important. We cannot rebuild relationships in a healthy way if we are not first spiritually centered ourselves. We cannot persevere in our work for social justice if we are not first spiritually focused ourselves. And we cannot survive whatever else 2020 has in store for us if we are not first spiritually grounded. I invite you to join me on this journey of spiritual disciplines over the next couple of months as we center ourselves spiritually and theologically so we can prepare for the work we have in front of us. Amen and blessed be. Lori will come back and have our closing words. Nothing I can do about it.
Okay. Our closing words for today are by Kimberly Quinn Johnson. These are some of my favorites. I bring them back to you. They were originally words of June Jordan in Poem for South African Women, which she presented at the UN on August 9th, 1978. Kimberly Quinn Johnson herself is a minister of the UU congregation of South Fork. Among her specialties are anti-racism and youth ministry. I'm going to ask you here to join me. I'm going to read a sentence that's going to keep repeating, and to join me in it when it comes back. I'll let you know. We are the ones we have been waiting for. If you could say that with me at home, it would be great. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We are not perfect, but we are perfectly fitted for this day. We are not without fault, but we can be honest to face our past as we chart a new future. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Here we go. We are the ones we have been waiting for. May we be bold and courageous to chart that new future. Maybe we have faith in a future that is not known. We are the ones we have been waiting for. And with me again, we are the ones we have been waiting for. Thank you.
That's excellent. Thank you, Lori, for sharing. I know we're having some weird video things, but like I say every week, this technology is weird, it's going to be glitchy, and that's okay. Maybe listening to words is better than watching me on video anyhow. But I really appreciate the words that Lori just shared, so thank you so much for that. Just a couple of notes about life in the community. I've been mentioning the last few weeks that we have a Who Are You class after the service today and next Sunday for anybody that might want to learn more about who we are and maybe think about membership or learn more about ways to get involved. So after the service ends at about 11:30, we're going to start that class. And if you've already sent us an email saying you'd like to be part of that, you should have received an email with a Zoom link to get into that. If you haven't, please send me an email right now and we'll get that fixed. It may take us a few minutes, but my email address is minister@uufcc.org. minister@uufcc.org if you'd like to be a part of that or if you've not received that email with that special Zoom link. Also, as I mentioned, this is the second Sunday in November, which means that at noon we have our monthly Social Justice Committee meeting. Who's a member of the Social Justice Committee? Well, according to our UUA charter, every single person who's part of UUFCC is on the Social Justice Committee. That's how important social justice work is to us as Unitarian Universalists. So that meeting starts at noon. You'll say right here on this Zoom link, we'll have our social hour coming up in just a few minutes when we close the service. And then at noon, Herb will take over and he will take on leadership chairing that committee meeting. So we got stuff going on. But now it's time to extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of hope, the fire of commitment, or the warmth of community. May those ideals shine in our lives and warm our hearts until we are together again. Let's sing together our community benediction, Go Now in Peace.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. Let the Spirit of us surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. Let the Spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere.
Thank you all again for being here. It's great to have everyone gathered together, especially when there's so much joy and energy among us on this day. Please be safe this week. We do have a tropical storm system coming this way, which may or may not strengthen. We just don't know, but we're going to get wet probably through Wednesday or Thursday. So just be ready for getting wet and lots of raininess. Be a blessing to everyone. Be a blessing to those that you're sharing a home with. And I've recently learned a new term. It's called pandemic pod. And those are groups of friends or families or neighbors who decide to quarantine together and not ever be with anyone else except for going to the grocery store. So whether you're just sharing with people in your own home or you have a pandemic pod, be a blessing to those people as well. And most importantly, be a blessing to yourself, because you cannot be kind to others without first being kind to yourself. Thank you for being here. It's great to see all of you. If you would like to stick around for social hour, please hang on a few minutes and we'll get the breakout rooms going. Lori Bell will handle a couple minutes. If you would like to be part of the Who Are You class that will start at 11:30, then you can go ahead and log out and find that email and log into that Zoom room. I'll be there in just a few minutes as soon as I get things wrapped up here. Whew, that's a lot. I'm tired. Is it time for lunch yet? It's great to see you.
I want to make a bit of a correction for everybody. Go to the update or the newsletter. There is where you can click to log on if you want to attend the new UU session after. So you'll get a return email from that will give you your link. And I'm going to start the breakout rooms.